You are listening to Big Trouble in Little Podcast. And here are your hosts, Joe Dubs and Andy.
Hello, Internet peeps, and welcome to this edition of Big Trouble Little Podcast, episode 67. I am Joe Dubs.
And I'm Andy.
And we are here at the finale of Planet of the Apes, where we're going to be discussing and probably debating what will be the main list from 1 through 9. We already have some set in stone already because we already have the same movies in the same place, but we will still be talking about them. And yeah, Andy, what the hell you been playing or watching? Playing.
I haven't been playing anything, so it's a good thing I don't have to answer that. But I've watched a bunch of movies. It looks like I've watched more than I actually have, just because 2 of them have super long titles. But Cool Hand Luke is on Netflix now, so I had to watch that. I put it on thinking I was gonna fold laundry and unload the dishwasher and do some other chores, but god damn it, Cool Hand Luke is just such a good movie. I just sat there and stared at it and watched it. I watched Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, and Lone Wolf and Cub, White Heaven and Hell, which is the Lone Wolf and Cub movies numbers 5 and 6. Both are pretty good, but I didn't like them as much as I liked 1 and 3. I watched Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, which is Michael Cimino's directorial debut, starring Clint Eastwood and Jeff Bridges. It was really good. There's a new half-hour special. Netflix has this new policy where anything goes, and they're just putting stuff up now. The length doesn't matter or whatever. The unauthorized Bash Brothers experience presented by Lonely Island. It's a half hour long, and it's just like a musical about Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, who played for the A's in the late 80s. And it's really funny. It's worth watching. It's only half hour long. I laughed. I watched Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, the documentary about Metallica when they were making Saint Anger. I'd never seen it before. It was really interesting. I watched The Waterboy. It's The Waterboy. What do you want me to say about it? Some Mystery Science Theater. I watched Casablanca with some friends. It's a classic. What can I say about Casablanca that hasn't already been said? The movie's perfect. I watched The Elephant Man, which was the last David Lynch theatrical release that I had to see. I've seen everything David Lynch has ever put in the theaters now, which is kind of neat.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was really good. It's just, man, that the subject matter itself isn't it's a little unsettling, but it's not spooky or anything. But the way that he directs it, the whole movie just kind of sets you at ill ease. He's a really good director, and it's a really interesting movie, and the acting in it is just out of this world. John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins are the best. Then I watched Charade. It seems like it would be a Hitchcock movie, but it was not directed by Hitchcock. It was directed by someone else whose name I don't remember. But it's Cary Grant and what's her name? Audrey Hepburn. And it's like a thriller, and they're trying to find some money that was stolen from the U.S. government, and blah blah blah. And James Coburn's in it, as is Walter Matthau. It's really good. And then I watched Walk Cheerfully, which is a silent movie from Japan in 1930, directed by Yasuhiro Ozu. It was also pretty good. The first act was a little boring, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, I watched a shitload of stuff.
I watched one movie. I went on Amazon Prime, and I was like, I want to watch something that is not popular, but also had good reviews. Never trust any good reviews on Amazon, because this movie was okay. It was copying a lot of other shit, like Jericho the TV show. There was a lot of similarities and stuff, but pretty much a nuke goes off, or a couple of nukes go off in the United States, and a group of people hide in a basement, and pretty much they all go through radiation poisoning, and that's the movie.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, they had the kid from Terminator 2, John Connor, in there, and he was just terrible actor. So I don't recommend it. It's on there. Yeah, and that's all I watch. And I wrote that's it on my list because I didn't watch any other movie. I was too sleepy and stuff.
All week you were too sleepy.
All week, and I was waiting for that Death Stranding trailer. But that's video games. I mean, it could be a movie. It's Kojima.
Yeah, I mean, it probably will share a lot of similarities with movies. I mean, it's using real life actors, so and real life directors for some reason. That's weird.
Yep.
Del Toro has been an actor though. He was in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, and then you have Tommy Earl Jones, you have Mads Mikkelsen, you have Norman Reedus. It's pretty much a movie. But let's move on to our Planet of the Apes wrap-up show, where we are going to discuss on the final list of the ranking. So do we want to start off at number 9? Do we need to say why Tim Burton movie is bad and needs?
Yeah, we'll retread this old ground just to. I mean, we'll lay the foundation because we can agree that a foundation is made up of Planet of the Apes 2001 director Tim Burton. Yeah, we already talked ad nauseum about how maybe it wasn't the movie's fault. It was made, what was it, 80 days? And it was weeks ago when we talked about it, but it was made like super quick and blah blah. It shows it's awful, and it's far and away like it is awful, and then number 8 is like number 8 that sucks, but number 8 is way better than number 9. I mean, that movie is just disaster.
Mm-hmm. Well, it had a good cast, and then it tried to like hit the same. Well, let me rephrase that. It was a good cast, and then it had Mark Wahlberg in it, and Mark Wahlberg was okay, but this was like his early work, so he wasn't that good yet. And then I'm still saying that he's not a good actor. He's a mediocre actor at best.
He's good at yelling.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at being angry. Like, look at him in The Departed. He's pissed off that entire movie. He's great in that. He's a prick that whole movie too. But he's not a major part.
He's also in Four Brothers. He was okay in that. It just felt weird. I don't know how to explain it. It just it had no good pacing, and the only good thing about it was Paul Giamatti. And yeah, Tim Burton. No, I don't think he should do a Planet of the Apes movie, but he did, and that's why it's at number 9.
I don't think Tim Burton should do a lot of movies, but I guess that's another conversation.
Really, that's in the minority, because I don't like his movies either.
I haven't liked anything he's made. I think I said this when we were talking about the movie before, so sorry for retreading old ground, but I haven't liked anything he's made since Big Fish. That was probably the last one.
Well, he did the Batman movies, right?
Yeah, but that was 89, and when did Batman Returns come out? 90, 91, something like that. So, that was a long time ago. Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, stuff like that. Of course, those movies are classics. I like those movies. I'm not saying I hate Tim Burton. I just don't think he can make good movies anymore. He's got like this weird style he wants to do them in, and it's boring and it sucks and I hate it.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into number 8. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. That's the one where I forgot the guy's name already because we had so many humans in this one. But he came the same way as Taylor. I know Taylor from the first movie.
Sure.
Going the same path, and he ended up going forward in time to the planet, and It basically, they were in a subway system, and what really turned me off in this movie was the advanced humans. I thought it
Yeah,
was
they were dumb.
it was stupid. This I guess during that time, like sci-fi, like you had to be like a little more weird. I mean, not saying that apes talking and everything is not. It is weird to us, but I just think it doesn't belong there, and it's kind of silly to say that when you have talking apes and everything, but them having telekinesis and uh from the radiation, you're like their faces are all fucked up and stuff. They have masks on, and what they were wearing, it was so B-rated movie sci-fi. What do you think about it?
I mean, the ending of this movie is so frustrating because they set up a lot of really good stuff in the first movie, and this
Mm-hmm.
movie kind of like runs with some of it. I love the development of Dr. Zaius in this movie, who's like, I think, looking back, my favorite character in any of the movies. I love Dr. Zaius. He's really interesting
Mm-hmm.
because he's the, and these movies play with this theme a lot, but he's the personification, no pun intended, of he's doing the right thing, but for all the wrong reasons. Like he gets proved right on a bunch of counts, but every time he's only right because he's being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's really interesting. He's an interesting character, but they ruin that whole thread. They ruin anything that they could have done with. And Charlton Heston wanted out of the movies, so he said he wanted his character to die. But that doesn't mean you have to kill every character he gets. But he wanted out, so they kill Taylor, which sucks. Nova dies, which it's not like there was much of a character there anyway. It was a mute hot woman. That's pretty lame writing, but still.
Well, the thing is, like, I wanted to be with the apes more. I wish that the Taylor and the other dude and Nova was more doing more storyline with the apes, but they were too busy trying to find where these secret advanced humans that were hiding from apes for some strange reason. Because I guess they were trying to be peaceful in some
And what
way.
was the gorilla general's name too? I liked him a lot too. That's frustrating. That's why this movie is so low for me. Is it takes so much interesting stuff and just does nothing with it, and then just shits the bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and did we both hate the bomb? Because I
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
stupid.
I kind of liked it a little bit, but I also hated how it all of a sudden was like they were praying to it. They were uh somehow like they it's stupid ending. I hated the ending so much.
Yeah. The only good thing that came out of them worshiping that stupid bomb was the reference to it in the Venture Brothers.
Well, what did Charlton Heston say before he fucking like blew up the bomb or something like that?
I don't remember.
My friend does it. Well, whatever. Yeah, and I'm trying to think what else. What I liked about the movie again was the apes when they were trying to find the cave or the entrance and stuff, and they were having like these hallucinations of apes being on fire, and it was just nothing. Because Zayas was like, "Hey, yeah, this is all fake. Let's go in there." And like all the gorillas were all scared and shit. I thought that was good, and I'm trying to see what I liked about the subway. I mean, I liked the design a little bit, but you could tell that it was drawn. It was like art and stuff.
Yeah.
The set was like okay. I'm not gonna nitpick it too much because of that time. Um, the costumes were good, right? The 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 the
Oh yeah,
eight.
definitely. Yeah, they still had a lot of the same mask and makeup work as the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the costumes and all the apes are really cool. I mean, the humans don't really have costumes; they just kind of have vague coverings. But
Yeah, the Taylor and the other guy having that little fight scene because they were, mind controlled by the advanced humans. I thought that fight scene was really fucking dumb, and I think they could have done a different way to escape jail in some fashion.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why it's at number 8. I know we kind of talked about it a little more than Tim Burton, but the Tim Burton film just didn't hit anything.
There's more to talk about.
Yeah, at least in Beneath, there was a little bit positive with the apes and some things, and just most of it just sucked. All right, let's go to number 7, since we both agree on this. Escape from Planet of the Apes. What did you like about that movie? So we could.
I like that those early movies, each time a new one rolled around, it would have a new angle, like a new moral and a framing device. And it's clear they didn't have as much money for this one, so they were like, "Oh, we'll just set it in the present," because that's what you did with movies back then, like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of pays off because it puts the characters in a bunch of interesting situations. You have, I mean, that's. I hate to say that's it, but that's the best thing about it is it takes the two interesting characters, Cornelius and Zaya. No,
All these fucking names, I swear.
yeah, it's tough. We got nine movies worth of characters to remember now, but it takes them and puts them out of place, and that's usually a pretty good story writing mechanism, and it pays off in this. And there's some really stupid humor that I just don't like about it, hence it being way down at number 7.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. It's an interesting premise. The twist at the end is like, oh, like it is kind of, it gets you a little bit. Ricardo Montalban, he's great. I like to see Khan in anything.
What I liked about that movie, again, was the makeup of the apes. Both Zira and Cornelius. I just looked it up, by the way. I'm not being smart. I did like that they time traveled to the present time. I thought the acting was kind of cheesy with like the president, and the so-called villain. Like he
the scientist who wants to destroy important stuff.
Mm-hmm. I didn't care for the humor at all. I mean, certain parts were funny. I forgot what she called the champagne, the grape juice or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh no, it was like grape juice plus." That's what they called it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and then I felt like they took too much time into showing that they were having fun on Earth. I thought that was the majority of the movie, and then it started picking up pretty much when, the other scientist guy was like, "Oh, there's holes in your story. You're lying to us." And then
I would have liked to see more of them, like on the lam, like hiding and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think the budget kind of showed that they had to do, certain spots. Maybe they got that hotel for like a day, and they just shot it up or something like that. And then they found that abandoned boat or ship. I should say ship. It's not a boat. You put a boat on a ship. But what really kind of made me put this at number 7 is because it was majority of them being like, "Oh, look at this champagne, this wine, this food, these clothes," and I'm like, I get it. You're trying to fit in to be human. I get it. I don't care.
It was an interesting premise that they couldn't quite stretch gracefully over 100 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then the only thing I kind of liked, the only thing I liked is the last act was them running away and having that that edit of the monkey saying "mama" like 1,000 times.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on to our debate?
No.
Okay. So I want to see if we're on the same wavelength before we start, or I'll say my pick what should be number 6, and then you say your pick in number 6. I put on my list Conquest. I felt like it should be there because what was Conquest about anyway? Again, before that's what the
movie number 4
is when he start when Caesar starts to build up his army and stuff. I put it below because I know your number 6 is Battle, so I think that's what's going to be the debate here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to debate Battle versus Conquest, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Conquest is better than Battle in just about every way. I think the sets in Battle look awful. I hate the Ape Village, and I really super hate the way that the bombed out city looks. The underground industrial stuff looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the costumes are still fine. They still have a few decent looking ape costumes. I feel like there's a bunch of them hidden in the background. The humans all look stupid. Their costumes are awful. They're like stupid little militia army. It's just like a jeep and like a bus and some stuff like that. And I realized it's the post apocalypse, but they couldn't get anything better than that. I hate to fault the movie because of its budget, but it really suffers because of its budget. Plus, I just think the story is a lot less interesting. It's just like the apes are trying to live, and then the humans come to fight them, and then the apes win. And that is kind of the plot of one of the newer movies, which we'll get to later. But they do a lot more with it. They add layers to it. This movie doesn't have any layers. It's just Caesar wanted to hear what his parents sounded like, and then he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a fight, and then ape kills ape, and it just there's not enough going on. Conquest, on the other hand, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, it's more interesting because it's got that like slave master dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a revolution in it. They it doesn't pay off with like a lot of the other apes because they can't speak yet, and there's that weird thing where Caesar can like look at them and it inspires them to civil disobedience and violence. That's weird, but I love the final scene in that movie where they like beat the guy to death and Caesar looks like real pissed off and he's got his arms across him, and the end of Battle is, I can't remember. I think ape kills ape and then they talk about it and then it shows the lawgiver talking to both human and ape children. And that's another reason I hate Battle is it undoes a really cool ending for Conquest. Because Conquest had 2 endings. We talk about this in that episode, but in case you're listening to this, not that, there's the theatrical cut of Conquest has a happier ending. Like the gorillas go to beat that guy to death, and the black guy, what was his name?
Clinton, McDonald. There you go.
McDonald, that's it. He says something to Caesar, and it kind of makes Caesar see compassion. Maybe human and ape can live together after all, which is kind of like what some viewers wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the theatrical cut, and that makes more sense going into Battle because that's where we go with Battle. And at the end of Battle, you see time has been changed because they're working together. Like men aren't unevolving, so they can no longer speak and stuff like that. So it's undoing the future that is the next 2 movies, which is good, or the first 2 movies, which is good because in the second movie, the entire planet and all life on it is destroyed. They don't want that to happen. So I get where they're going with what they do in Battle, but the ending of Conquest is so much more interesting and thrilling and well written. The speech he gives is like actually kind of chilling, especially considering this is like a not low budget, mid budget, I guess, 70s cult sci-fi action movie. I don't know. I think Conquest is better than Battle in most ways. You'll have to try to convince me why Battle is better than Conquest.
I mean, you brought up really fucking good points. What I'll say with Battle, what attracted me was the town or community that Caesar built after what Conquest happened. I like that there were schools. I like that he was already having humans pretty much worked, like they were still lower than them, but he had sympathy for them, while the gorilla obviously didn't. Kind of being like the Koba of the newer movies that were happening, because from Conquest, the humans were being dicks. They were like beating them up, just making them act like they're slaves. So the gorilla in battle, he was against humans being with their community. I will say the bad thing that I hate, and I think you don't like to see, there was the like radiated humans that decided to have a war. That's why it's called Battle for Planet of the Apes. I did like that Caesar did the old everybody's dead kind of thing, and then they all got up and fought.
No.
I thought that was a good turnaround. I thought the battle scene was decent compared to Conquest. But I did like in Conquest that the ending, there was like a standoff, and then had that silent pretty much when you hear the gunfire.
Yeah.
I thought that had a better payoff than Battle.
I don't know. It's not. I mean, what happens at the end of Conquest? It is. You could call it a battle, but it's more like an insurrection. It's like all at night. Only one side is actually using firearms, with the exception of Caesar himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell it's at night so that they can kind of hide, some of the costumes and some inconsistencies and stuff like that. And I admit the costumes for the humans in that movie suck also.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 point to you, but I still think when you take superficial stuff like that out of the conversation, what's going on in Conquest is just more interesting. There's more at stake than just, oh, some humans are pissed off and they're coming to fight.
Yeah, I think with Conquest, I think what really turned me off was the cheesiness on how Caesar was controlling all these apes. Like, he was looking into their souls and they knew what to do. I hated how, I guess we were supposed to assume that he speaks ape, and that's how he was communicating. And then from Conquest, well, then they kind of they do exposition in Battle where they show the schools, and that's how they learn how to talk.
Yeah.
How many years was from Conquest to Battle? Did they say?
Oh, I remember Caesar has like grayer hair now.
So that would have to be like what, 10 to 15 years, maybe, tops.
It's a decade or more, I want to say.
Hmm. What did you think of the world of Conquest? Did you like that Nazi feeling America?
Somewhat.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but it felt weird seeing it from seeing from Escape how, um, how America would be today, besides being the 70s and stuff, and then automatically going into the future, and all of a sudden it's like Nazi Germany, because people are paranoid that the world is going to end in like 2300 or something like that. And it's like, what was it, like 1999?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't really have a good defense. This is more of a personal thing. I just like Battle more. I just didn't like the cheesiness of Caesar. I thought it was still cheesy how he quickly decided to hate humans because of his friend dying, but I guess he was also seeing other apes being treated badly. Yeah, I'm gonna go with you.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna put. What'd you put? Battle at number 6.
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. So now we have number 5. Your number 5 is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. My number 5 is Battle for Planet of the Apes. So we have. So we have. So I want to hear your story on why Rise is at number 5.
Rise is a great movie, and honestly, it's probably a better made, a better composed movie. Again, Conquest has a lot of themes that I found more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Rise is uh, it's hard to articulate my thoughts on Rise. I guess it's cruelty to animals is bad. All these movies have that going on, and the acting in it is solid. This is we get to start talking about Andy Serkis again. He's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What did we?
honestly, as far as number five goes, if you put up much of a good argument at all, we can put Conquest at five. I think that
Okay.
it does boil back down to, like you were saying, like a personal preference. I just like old sci-fi stuff. I love the old Apes movies for what they are. I love old Star Trek, THX. I love my brain's drawing a blank, but all that stuff, the Quiet Earth. Um,
So you want to agree that Conquest will take number five? Because I personally think that the newer movies and the first Planet of the Apes 1968 deserve to be all the way up in the top of the list.
Yeah, it hurts me as a weirdo cinephile to be like, yeah, the newer ones are better, but man, the newer ones are better. And it's my own argument coming back to bite me, but the budget matters, man. Battle and Conquest were both made on a budget of $1.7 million, and I don't care how much adjustment you do for inflation. That's not even going to touch the budget that they had for Rise and this other stuff. So, I mean, if we had like the novelization of each movie and we were talking about that, I could probably put up a better fight. But honestly, if someone said, "Look, I've got a copy of Conquest, I've got a copy of Rise. What do you think we should watch as a group?" I'm gonna say Rise. So yeah, Conquest can probably slip in there at number five.
All right, I agree. So let's put the Conquest at number five. All right, number four.
Okay, now just so we're all on the same page, all that we have left is the original Charlton Heston, 1968. You blew it all to hell. It's a madhouse. Get your hands off me. Classic Planet of the Apes, and we have all three of the reboot, I guess, the new movies:
Mm-hmm.
Rise, Dawn, and War. So that's what's going to take spots 1 through 4. It's just in what order?
Okay, so
Because we actually have pretty wildly different situations going on here.
yeah, so I think the debate right now is why uh, it would be 1968 Planet of the Apes versus the trilogy reboot. What will?
Yeah, but looking at your ranking, looking at my rank, you would put the original Planet of the Apes here, which I have major problems with, and I would put, judging from what's left, Rise, which, like I said, I had number five, but I
Mhm.
can be happy with at number four. But you flip flopped on this, didn't you? Didn't you waffle on where you were going to put the original?
Yeah, I had it at number one, and then I was gonna have like uh, two be War, three be Dawn, and then four be Rise. But what I'll say with Planet of the Apes 1968 with Charlton Heston is that it's a classic. It's written really well, and that payoff at the end. It's written really well because of Rod Serling, which is a sin for me because I cherish Rod Serling and I just shat on him by putting him at number four. Um,
He's not the only. He didn't write the screenplay by himself. He had
mhm.
input on it, but there were like, um, I think 4 or 5 different ladles in this script stew. I'm pretty sure.
You could tell certain areas was Rod Serling.
Obviously, it's based on a novel, so someone wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
The premise and some of the screenwriting was someone else. Rod came in and helped turning it into a screenplay, and I don't know how much he actually like typed it, but there was someone else who actually turned it into the working screenplay. But still, he was involved heavily, and there's a comic book that more directly follows Rod Serling's vision for this movie, which is apparently very interesting because it's got ape society basically looking like modern human society. It's very strange, but his ideas did not make it into this movie in whole. So it's not like you're slighting him specifically, but it is like you're slighting sci-fi classic, which spawned all of these movies. It's like I don't know. Uh, I mean, it's kind of a dumb argument to be like, oh, without this movie, the other ones wouldn't exist. It should be at number one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of unfair. It kind of takes out all the other elements of talking about it. But
I think it's pretty much it. It's gonna sound really fucking dumb, but how they write it in the newer movies, like how they lost their voices, it was like a virus and stuff. How the apes slowly started learning how to talk because the virus that was in them um, mutated them. Or, well, like you had Caesar, and then you had the bad ape, like that could talk and everything. And some of them are slowly getting smarter and smarter to comprehend. And I just like how they did those things to explain what was going on, while in the
I mean,
first.
I agree with you both in ranking and just in conversation that the origin of how the world became a planet of the apes is handled way better in the new movies. But the original Planet of the Apes doesn't deal with that at all. In fact, that's part of its charm. I mean, we can compare it to a Twilight Zone episode. In fact, it doesn't bother with that. It's just we were going into space to look for other planets.
Mm-hmm.
Some kooky time shit happened. Oh, we crash landed. Oh my gosh, we're on this crazy backwards planet where April's man. It's so weird and interesting. And if you look at this movie in a vacuum versus looking at Rise in a vacuum, I still think it's a better movie. I think it's a more interesting plot. I could go either way on the acting. Obviously, there's like hundreds of CG artists all working on Rise that are going to give it a little bit of an edge there. But for what it is, and again, looking at the movie in a vacuum, looking at it in 1968, the costumes in Planet of the Apes are like groundbreaking. That's amazing. It did for costume work and parts of sci-fi what like Star Wars did for practical special effects in 1977. This movie's groundbreaking. It's a crime that I myself don't have it at number one. Really, I think it's better than Rise at least.
Mm-hmm. There were some cheesy scenes in there that kind of. That's just my personal preference. I do love the laugh, though. I think the laugh is.
You can't. I mean, you're saying you're kind of judging it on its sequels, and that's not fair. You got to look at the movie by itself. There were never any sequels to Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I mean, treating it like maybe like it's a Twilight Zone episode where they land on the planet, and then the twist is that the apes are here.
One of the most famous twists of all time, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like that, and like Luke, I'm Your Father, and Rosebud. I mean, they're all pretty synonymous with movie twists.
All right, I'm not gonna put it at number 2 like you. I will agree that Rise can go at number 4. But what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Okay, so Rise will be at number 4 because quickly with Rise, James Franco did okay. I just didn't care enough for his character, and I don't know. Maybe just because they maybe couldn't get him for 2 or 3, or Dawn or something like that. But they kind of build up his character like he's gonna be in there for the long haul, and then it falls flat, and he's like, "Oh, I don't need you anymore." But they do go back to it later on when they go to the house and stuff.
Yeah, I mean his photos there. They don't like ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good.
With Rise, I also liked how he became an alpha ape and taught everything and how they escaped, and then the bridge scene was really fucking cool.
Yeah, it really was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as good as that bridge scene looks. I just don't think it can even come close to being as great as the final scene in the original Planet of the Apes, for instance.
Yeah.
I think we're doing the right thing. But anyway, now the last three for spots 1 through 3 is actually going to be quite a bit more difficult, I think, because we have wildly different. We don't even agree which is better between War and Dawn. So
the War and Dawn debate.
because we did this a little bit already when we covered War for the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was really good, but I thought wasn't as good as Dawn. And for all the reasons I said, I don't want to go back over that again. But really, I think Dawn is the finest of all the movies. As far as, again, if you had like a novelization of each one, I think it would be the most interesting. I think it's the coolest story. I even think the effects in it are a little bit better than War. War is more focused in what the story is, and again, War really drops the ball on a lot of like Caesar becoming a great leader and learn to be like Koba and stuff like that. It just indulges itself in that. No, he's gonna go back to kill him. Yeah, that's stupid. I don't want that. I want Caesar to grow as a leader. That's more interesting. He needs to have more of an arc. He needs to lead his people and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know if we need to debate War versus Dawn or if we need to debate both of them versus Planet of the Apes, because if we follow what you've got going on, Planet of the Apes is going to fall at number 3. But if we follow what I've got going on, it should make it to number 2.
Mm-hmm. So I guess they might have to work together against Planet of the Apes 1968 before they work on each other. Again, to go, and it's kind of hard because this is where it stems off. Like, if Planet of the Apes never happened or never got popular, then we would never have these reboots. Again, it's a lame excuse, like you said. I just like the world in the newer movies more than the older movies. Not because they're old and their sets are, cheap as hell. I just how the exposition, how they explain everything. God, I'm walking
That's
in.
part of the problem, is because that's what I like about the original is it doesn't explain anything. They're just on a crazy mixed up world where April's man, and that's the plot, is they've crash landed on this mysterious alien planet, we think,
Mhm.
and they've got to survive, and it turns out to just be Charlton Heston trying to survive, and he meets sympathetic characters, and they're played really well and have their own interesting story and also arc. It's
Mhm.
just, I don't know. I feel like there's still more going on in places. I don't know. It's getting to be more and more of a toss up. What I prefer between this and the two of the better newer movies, the remakes.
Mhm. Because
It's just like you like all the exposition and stuff, but if a movie is really good, it doesn't need a lot of exposition. Like if a movie is just exposition, that's a boring movie. That's a documentary.
Mhm. And in the Humans, I mean, Woody Harrelson was okay. It just felt weird seeing him be a bad guy in War, even though that's my favorite one. The reason why I like War is because I feel like Andy Serkis and Caesar was going through adversity in his story, where his wife and son get killed, and now he's more not thinking like a leader, but thinking like an angry, um, husband and
He goes through a lot of adversity in Dawn as well, though. In Dawn, he gets shot, he gets usurped, he
mm-hmm,
has to. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of big fights. He's dealing with, what are we going to do about the humans? There's more like he gets to be a leader more in Dawn, because there's like negotiation, and there's a show of force. He goes down there and says, "Don't you come back? We'll kill all of you. Here's the bag that you left, jackasses."
but he still thought like a leader. In
Yeah,
War, he was more of, I don't give a shit. You you could be a leader if you want. He's talking to Maurice, and you could lead them. I need to go finish this with, and I felt for Caesar, but at the same time, I'm like, you're not. They all look up to you. If you abandon them, they don't know what to do. And eventually, when you see what happens when Caesar's not around, they all get captured by Woody Harrelson and his little Nazi group.
And then he doesn't learn from that.
Mm-hmm. So this is really tough to debate with you. You're really good at this.
I'm very opinionated when it comes to movies, and I try to be well watched. Is that a phrase? People say well read. We keep slipping back into debating
Dawn versus War.
Yeah. What we need to do is decide whether Planet of the Apes is going at number 3 or number 2. Because honestly, if it was even at number 1, I'd be satisfied. But I don't think anyone's gonna die on that hill. So
I think I'm gonna give you leeway. Where do you want to put Planet of the Apes 1968? Because I think it's coming down to, let's just say, like in Royal Rumble sense. Even though we're eliminating Planet of the Apes, but where would you place him so that Dawn and War could have their battle?
I mean, on my list, I've got it at number 2. But if we fight over War and Dawn, and for some reason you come out ahead, I really don't think Planet of the Apes would be over Dawn, and War would be at number 1. It's still kind of a weird 3-way fight for me. I'd put it at number 2. That's just what I'm saying. That, or we could put it at number 1, which it kind of deserves for starting the whole franchise. It's really good. It's a cultural touchstone, and then we can just debate Dawn and War for 2 and 3 because that would be a cleaner fight.
All right, let's do this. Temporarily, in the Royal Rumble sense, this is wrestling people. We throw Planet of the Apes into number 1. He goes through the ropes, not over the ropes. So he's gonna he's gonna stay out there, take a nap while we debate Dawn and War.
Okay, that makes sense. We gotta suss this out first because I think this is the one part that we have most disagreed on.
Mm-hmm.
I just again, War is great. War is a really good movie. It just I think it's more interesting to see a good story about a good leader overcoming this huge socio-political issue. It's not really overcoming what he overcomes in that movie than this homicidal ape who just wants to kill Woody Harrelson because he shot his family, not even really intentionally. Like, obviously, Woody Harrelson is out of his mind, excuse me, in that movie, and he deserves to be dealt with. But, and then at the end of the movie, there's a stupid Deus Ex Machina where the avalanche kills all the other. and the guy who, like, they set up to be a character, and then he has no lines through the rest of the movie, and then he just kills Caesar with a crossbow, and then gets blown up by Red Donkey. That pisses me off just thinking about it and talking about it.
Yeah, I will give you that, and I guess Dawn.
I mean, there's no frustration like that in Dawn. Dawn is nice and clean. All the characters get what they deserve. You want to see Koba defeated. Koba's defeated, and it's not necessarily in an ape kills ape kind of way. It comes about due to Caesar fighting him, but Caesar doesn't directly. He doesn't like put a pistol to Koba's head and pull the trigger. Nothing like that happens. Koba falls to his death. Super satisfying and interesting. Gary Oldman's in that movie. His acting is outstanding. The main guy, who I can't even remember the name of because he's not in anything else, does a real good job.
The John Connor from.
It's interesting to see his son interact with Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice has a lot of really good interactions with Nova in War, I will grant you, but it's more of a one-sided thing because she can't speak or do anything. It's more like he's developing a relationship with a puppy than it is a living, breathing, talking, thinking, reasoning human teenager.
Well, I just and while he's
I
being
mean, I just hit you with like 5 bullet points. I guess you can double back and choose one of the other ones to debate if you want. But
well, the whole Nova thing, like he was becoming Koba with the adversity again of the reason why I was being nice to humans and all that stuff is the reason why this is all happening. Like he forgets that Koba is the reason why this war is happening. And when Woody Harrelson character kills his wife and son, he pretty much becomes Koba, where he has a distaste for humans. And when he was like looking at the kid, it's like he didn't care for her. And then he started caring for her. I did like the relationship, even though she didn't talk or anything. Um, when she was giving the seeds and the water, she didn't need to talk. And the whole, I forgot what fucking gesture they did where, apes stay together or something like that. They all put their hands together and put it over their head.
mm.
I felt like that was a moment that technically she's part of the ape community. So
It would
that
have been a lot more satisfying if Caesar had gone on. I mean, he does free them,
mm-hmm,
but it's more what Bad Ape and Maurice and Nova are doing. He's involved, but they're the ones who get underneath the facility and figure out like where to dig, and they discover like the flood and stop that. And it's he's involved, but it's them doing it.
mm-hmm. I did like the scenery. Like I thought the camera shots in this movie compared to Dawn uh were better because of the environment, and obviously I thought the snow was cool at least.
Yeah, it was a little nicer to look at. Um, uh, Dawn suffered from what a lot of movies from that time suffered from, and that's that everything had to be gritty. And it is a post-apocalyptic setting, so of course it
Mm-hmm.
will be dark and gritty, and it has a lot of grays, but there's a lot of greens in there too. Like when they're in the forest, it's always like fairly overcast. But I don't know. I'll give you that one just barely because even in war, it's just all white. It's just snow all the time. They didn't mix it up enough with any other varied environments. It was just winter, and that's cool. It was interesting, but it gets a lot out of a season instead of
Mm.
proper set dressing and stuff. I mean, at least we can agree it looked better than Battle.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you with Dawn the battle in that movie compared to War. There was only like a battle scene in the beginning of the movie, and then there was like a small battle scene between two human factions and stuff that didn't really have to do anything with the apes. The apes were more of trying to escape that.
Right. There's no emotional impact in that fight. We barely care who wins. Like, of course, I want to see the Alpha Omega Woody Harrelson faction defeated because they're obviously out of their minds. But ultimately, does it even matter? I mean, this virus is probably going to wipe them out anyway. The world has crumbled. Does it matter? We want to see the apes succeed, and they're doing that. The battle could have been not going on at all, and they still could have succeeded. The battle doesn't have any emotional punch. The battle at the end of Dawn, on the other hand, both of them, like when the apes are full heartedly attacking the humans, and it kind of looks like they're going to get beat back, but it starts, I mean, like Koba's like riding that horse with like the double machine guns and stuff. And yeah, you can't tell me that part's not that cool and more emotionally packed. It's a more interesting fight. There's more at stake than there is in the fight at the end of War, which is really only there to show off how good the CG is, which it is. It's wonderful. But the fight, and again fights, because then Caesar has to come back and fight him at the top of the tower. The
Mm-hmm.
fights at the end of Dawn are just more interesting. I care about what's going on, as do all viewers, but what's going on at the end of War is kind of inconsequential to our heroes.
Yeah, the only thing I hated about Dawn, I think, was the uh, well, not hate. Hate is a strong word, but I dislike the scene with when he grabs the weapon and he like puts him in a standoff so that Caesar could have a little more time. I thought that was pretty lame, but the rest of them, oh my god, I'm really bad at this. I can't debate it because I think it's more of I had fun watching War than Dawn, but then when I go into details on why, it's more of a personal than a debate. I can't go to a group of people and be like, "Hey, I liked it because I just thought it looked good and I thought that Caesar had went through adversity and stuff." But
Well, I mean, that's what we got to do on the podcast, but there's a lot to be said for that. Like, a movie can be fun but bad.
mhm,
I have fun watching Zardoz, even though it's like a huge piece of shit and it's confusing, and I still don't understand what happens to that goddamn movie.
mhm,
So, I mean, how fun a movie is really important. Like, I have a lot of fun watch. Like, if you cut out just the Battle of Helm's Deep from the Two Towers, I know it's a weird pull, but that's what came to mind. If you cut just that out, someone had never read the books or seen any of the other movies, they would have fun watching it because it's like a crazy interesting fight. Because
mhm,
there's a lot of stuff going on and it just looks impressive, and you have no idea why it matters to the characters or even which characters you're rooting for. I mean, you're probably rooting for the ones that aren't horrible monsters, I guess. But so there's a lot to be said for a movie being fun, independent of character motivations, and War definitely has that going on. Um, I still think Dawn is the better movie, and I think that's what we're trying to find here. I guess we could look at critical reviews or how much money they made to
mhm.
try to find a break on that. But what I propose is War or not War. Dawn is the best of them. I still want Dawn to be number one, but I say you put War at number two because like wider appeal is kind of more important than like a cinephile appeal. Like, oh, this movie is important because blank, blah blah blah. Like people talk about how Citizen Kane is like one of the best movies ever made, but you could argue very, very convincingly that a movie like Michael Bay's Transformers has done more to shape modern movies than Citizen Kane has. And
Mhm.
again, there would be an argument because Citizen Kane invented all kinds of stuff, both with storytelling and practical applications with a camera. But if you went down to your local movie theater right now and looked at every movie poster in there and even got to see all this, you would still be pulling more from like this movie's fun because a lot of movies now are just movie by committee. Kathleen Kennedy and a bunch of other people get in a room and discuss what the next Star Wars is going to be. It's not one rogue filmmaker that was like a semi-rich white guy made a movie about um, uh, American teenagers in the 50s and then a sci-fi movie and then wrote a space opera based off of old um, adventure serials. That's not happening anymore. So I'll give you. We can put Planet of the Apes, 1968, at number three, but I still think War is better than, or not War. I still think Dawn is better than War.
All right, I'll give you that. But I do want to bring this up because I'm not the only one, and I'm not stupid. I swear. On IMDb, War of the Planet of the Apes, the Metascore is at 82, and Dawn is at 79. That's interesting. Um,
That's a bigger disparity than I would have thought.
mhm. I'm also looking at the budget where I did have it, and then I lost it.
Oh, but I've got you on this one. According to Wikipedia, War for the Planet of the Apes at the box office made 490.7 million, but Dawn blew it away with 710.6 million.
All
So it
right.
made a lot more money, no matter how you look at what schlubs on the internet thought.
All right, I'll give you that. So let's go with that. Because what do we have? Yeah, put Planet 1968 Planet of the Apes at number 3, War at number 2, and then Dawn. And then Google Docs likes to do that indent bullshit.
Get out of here, Google, piece of shit. God damn it! Like, what? God damn it! Okay, whatever. I'm fighting with the formatting in our show document here. That's what you're hearing right now.
All right, so here's the list, everybody, and I'm gonna start at number 9 again. At number 9, we have the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. Boo. Nobody cares for that. Pretty much the whole internet world think that too.
Yeah, you're gonna find there's every movie is someone's favorite movie, but I think some of that comes down to nostalgia. Like, oh, I got my first hand job at that movie. I love that movie, or something like that. You know, it's like an unfair, stupid reason to like it. But I mean, objectively speaking, that's the worst one.
Mm-hmm. At number 8, we have Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I think me and Andy just didn't like how the end happened, and the stupid fucking advanced humans is what really kills it.
Great example of a movie just completely dropping the ball at the 2-yard line. It should have been great, and it was just, oh, really?
And this was following up the masterpiece of 1968. So it was definitely a downgrade, and I'm surprised that they kept on going with the movies. Maybe they signed a contract where it was like, you're gonna do, 5 movies.
I think it still made money. Hang on, I can check that real quick. I've got that brought up. I'm curious. I'm sorry, I'm slowing down.
No,
run down here, but
we still got to talk about the next series we're gonna be doing.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes cost $4.7 million to make, and it made 19. So,
I think that's more of like, oh man, 1968 Planet of the Apes was good, but
that was 1970.
Yeah, still pretty close. People will probably hype. Because you got to think of like this, and I know we're using different examples, but The Force Awakens, like when that came out, everybody's like, holy shit, Star Wars, and like everybody was hype on that Star Wars, and then The Last Jedi came out, and I know me and him are different opinions on that movie too. But
again, I don't love it, but I have unpopular opinions on that movie. But
yeah,
that's a whole nother episode that we already recorded. You can go download now at podbean.com.
Yep, novnetwork.podbean.com. Comment.
Anyway, after Beneath, number 7 is
Escape from
Escape.
Yeah, the goofiness was just too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of places. Like, honestly, if this movie was made independent of the Planet of the Apes branding, if it was the exact same plot, but it was about like super advanced otter people from the future coming back, I don't know if it would have had a leg to stand on. It was interesting. Roddy McDowall as Cornelius is always great, and the actress that played Zira, she's great too.
You know what it felt
Everyone
like?
else in the movie kind of was okay.
You know what it really felt like? That movie should have been, and I know you're not gonna agree because you're not a big TV person, but I think it would have worked better as a TV series.
Possibly.
Yeah.
No, I can get behind that.
Yeah, so that's what it felt like to me, and I just didn't dig it for like the hour and a half that they put in that movie. Number 6, we have Battle, and that is the little community, and the humans are attacking them, and
the 5th and the final movie of the original quintilogy. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the one where the budget starts showing the most. After this, they would go to television, and there were a couple series of comic books that each kind of petered out. But Battle was still a box office success, using air quotes. It made a profit, but it wasn't enough, and I really think it was a shame. The battle, the premise wore thin enough that they couldn't do anything new with it, and it just, I don't know. They like you like Battle more than Conquest, I know, so I don't want to rag on it too hard. But
and I do agree that Conquest had a better ending. Battle was kind of stupid when you saw the statue cry of blood.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's stupid.
So that's why I kind of agreed to put it at number 6. Number 5, we had Conquest for Planet
Conquest, and again, an asterisk here. In my opinion, the only version to watch is that the extended, it has an actual name, but like the director's cut. I think the ending is way better. Battle is more in line with the theatrical cut, I will admit, but I just think it's a better movie. So I think that's important to mention.
Yep. And this is where we start getting a little dicey because we had the difference with the new with the old. At number 4, we put Rise. We kind of mutually agreed. We kind of we mutually agreed on all this list, but number 4, it was a good start for the reboot for the trilogy. I just really like how Caesar became Caesar and led these apes across the bridge. Like
it was still finding, like, it was really good, but it was still finding its footing. I just used that metaphor, didn't I? It was still kind of finding its place in the world, how they were going to do these reboots. Andy Serkis does a lot of acting, like with his face and his body, but he's not getting to be commanding and stand upright, chest out, and be angry or be compassionate or be worried or anything like that. He's not doing that stuff yet. He's still like got that primal side to it, and that's interesting too. But I think the movies get a lot better when Andy Serkis gets to act more, and I think they get better with War and Dawn are both directed by the same guy, so maybe that's a factor too.
Mm-hmm. At number 3, we have Planet of the Apes, 1968. What started off, it was kind of the big bang of Planet of the Apes, where it launched into this popularity.
I mean, you don't have to have seen that movie to understand its impact on the American sci-fi cultural zeitgeist. It's not even just sci-fi. Like, you can't watch The Simpsons without seeing a reference to the show several times. You can't watch most TV shows, I'd argue. I mean, get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape, or get your paws off me, whatever it is. It's a madhouse. They blew it up.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff. I mean, this movie contributed so much. Just the image of a destroyed Statue of Liberty is just so iconic. And I really, obviously, a statue being destroyed isn't unique to this one movie, but I would argue that that same iconography has been used in a lot of other movies.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really look at, oh, look how effective that was in Planet of the Apes. We'll do that.
And I really like the Rod Serling touches to it. You could definitely tell it had that Twilight Zone feel to it, but also it came on its own, and I really digged it, and I appreciate it. It's the new hope of Star Wars. It's the new hope, like in Star Wars with Planet of the Apes 1968, is what I think. Number 2 is War. Is it War 4 or War of? It's War 4.
Yes, 4.
War 4, the Planet of the Apes. I had a number.
Possibly the final entry.
Yeah, the quotation marks. We'll see what.
Again, Disney owns this franchise now. As of a few months ago, it is officially on paper. We don't know what they'll do with it. They're probably too busy worried about
MCU and Star Wars.
Exactly. They bought Marvel. They got to do that. They bought Lucasfilm. They got to make Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They're worried about all their own movies. They got to make live action versions of everything they've ever made. They own Avatar now. They got to release that already have billions of dollars sunk into them. So it might be a while before we see another one. So this is the most recent. And honestly, if there was never another one, this would be a really good one for them to have gone out on.
Mm-hmm. And we already talked about War, but War, I just like the scenery. I like the virus, how it affects humans being mute. Did they explain that it goes beyond mute, or just he thought like them having the virus and not talking was wrong, and he just wanted to kill them off, pretty much.
I think he was trying to prevent the spread, I guess.
The spread of being mute.
Well, it was also like making them like feral, he said.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It was destroying the part of their brain that did speech and other stuff. And again, that's set up really well in Rise because it's based off of a purported cure for Alzheimer's that goes wild and does all this other stuff instead.
Mm-hmm. It makes apes smarter, but humans dumber. Pretty much become an animal, like an ape.
Yeah. So it does in fact set up. And again, we talked about this before, so I don't want to retread old ground too hard, but man, I really like to see Disney pick up the ball where the series left off and do that series about the astronauts lost in space and go to the future of the reboots. That'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And then at number 1, we all agreed, or me and you agreed, that Dawn should be number 1.
We all agreed. Everyone agrees with that.
Yes, me, myself, and I. And then
No, but Dawn's the best one. Honestly, if you were gonna watch just one, it would be a shame to watch Dawn without the context of both the original and Rise. But man, it's so interesting and so exciting, and it's exciting from both like a I'm trying to be a smart guy. I'm going to talk about Caesar being a good leader, blah 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 kind of way. And it's just there's so many fun. I mean, Koba having 2 machine guns on the back of a horse. Come on, that's cool.
Well,
Put that in a GIF, and I'll watch that.
It could kind of stand on its own a little bit because the only thing that they go back on Rise is, to the house. And, James Franco house.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, everything that you would need to know, they established, not in an obnoxious way.
Mm-hmm. Because I think the normal or casual watcher would be like, that ape over there is the main ape, the alpha ape, and then Koba is like doing a coup, and he's the bad ape, and then you have the humans. Well, again, going back on Dawn, I really liked what they did with the humans in Dawn. They weren't asshole humans. They were just scared and doing self-defense because Koba was being a dick. Other than that, I like what they. I know I'm debating again, but I kind of like what they did with the new series. Is that in Rise they were kind of assholes to the apes, but 2 and 3 they kind of had compassion a little bit. The compassion with Nova and Caesar, and then this one in Dawn, Caesar was being compassionate to the guy and the son and the wife, but there was just like that one asshole guy that hated apes. But yeah, that's our list, everybody. We did you have fun, Andy?
Yeah. I honestly, when you pitched the series, I was just kind of like, ugh, all right, I guess we'll do this. But now it's like one of my favorite series of all time. So
I have
it
to
worked out.
I have to agree. Like, I chose it because I never watched most of it. Like, the only one I watched was the bad one, Tim Burton, because it was on HBO and I on repeat, and I just kept on watching it. But I really dig this whole series. They have their hits and miss, but I really liked the newer reboot, and then I liked the 1968 one. But do you want to reveal our next series that we're going to be watching?
We agreed that we were going to split it into 2 chunks, right? We're going to do the first half right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going to do the second half down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, well, kind of in this is a really good segue from this series because this is classic sci-fi, but it doesn't get much more classic sci-fi than what we want to do next. We're going to do movies 1 through 6. That's the original cast of Star Trek. So, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan. Was it Voyage Home is 4? What's the name of the third one? Search for Spock, something like that.
I'll look it up real quick.
Whatever. Then the Voyage Home, and then the bad one where they go look for God, and then the Undiscovered Country.
Star Trek movies in order. What we got? The Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III: The Search of Spock.
For Spock, I think.
For Spock. Then the goddamn it, Google. The Voyage Home, and then the Final Frontier.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then
the Undiscovered Country.
Yep.
Parts of the original cast are in Generations, but that's really more of a Next Generation movie. So what we plan to do, as long as we stick with this, is we're going to do the first 6 Star Trek movies right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, starting next week, we will have watched Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And then we're going to move on to another series and do some other stuff. Maybe we'll look at, I don't know, Indiana Jones or the 50 Shades of Grey series. I don't know. We'll do some other stuff. And then one day down the road, we're going to return, and we're either going to do 4 generation movies and then the 3 remakes, or well, remakes. They are technically in the same universe. The 3 new ones separately, or maybe we will do them all in a burst of 7, and then we will, in the wrap up for that, we will incorporate them into our original
Well,
ratings for 6.
I think by the time we get to the newer ones, the newest one is going to come out. There's one called Star Trek 14 that is being made.
I think I don't know. I feel like it's in pre-production, but it keeps getting hung up. They don't seem to be able to agree on premise and cast and stuff like that, because now Discovery's out and it's doing its own thing, so they might just do a completely different movie. Man, I really wish, this is not the time to discuss this obviously, but I really wish there were movies about Deep Space Nine or Voyager or something else to jazz it up a little bit, but whatever, we'll take what we got. And honestly, what we've got is some of the best sci-fi movies ever made. I mean, I can't wait to watch Wrath of Khan again, and honestly, I've really been looking forward to watching the motion picture again. I haven't seen it since college, and at the time, I liked it, didn't love it, but I really think I'm going to come around on it this time. I hope.
I only watched Wrath of Khan, so this is going to be fun. I watched the Next Generation movies. That's because I was a big TNG fan. So, everybody, get ready. We're actually going to have 2 things that are going to be going on. We're going to be seeing the Godzilla movie.
Godzilla, King of Monsters.
Yep. So, do we want to unveil what name did you come up with for the movie theater reviews?
Oh, our Now Playing series. I mean, like I was just joking, because we'll never be able to have the time and money and dedication. You know what? I have the dedication now, but we'll never have the time and money to spin this off into a whole nother podcast, or a whole nother show. Maybe do it in video format or something. But to keep in line with Big Trouble in Little Podcast and Escape from Side Quest, I wanted to call it Assault on Theater 13. To go with the Carpenter theme.
Yeah, that would have been funny. But the Now Playing, we have Godzilla, King of Monsters. So remember, if you're going to be seeing that movie, if you don't see that movie and you decide to listen to our podcast, well, you're going to spoil the whole fucking movie for you.
Yeah.
And then next week, we're also going to have Star Trek, the motion picture, 1979.
And if you're into video games and you've been missing Escape from Side Quest, E3's coming up, so we got to do something about that.
Yep. We're going to be getting back into the video game thing. I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to be doing in Escape from Side Quest. We talked about new format. It's just the games that we want to play and talk at the same time. I want to have a podcast that will make sense. I don't want it to be like we're playing and just bullshitting, because then that's just a stream, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of want to have like a discussion. Maybe we'll have like stuff to talk about within the game. Maybe, the person that's not playing the game will ask questions and stuff. I don't know. We'll think of something. To catch all our episodes, we are on Podbean. If you go to nobnetwork.podbean.com, we have Big Trouble Little Podcast, we have our Escape from Side Quest, and we also have the Nemesis Project, which just came out with the second part of the Rebirth episode for Resident Evil 0.
Oh, I'm behind. I need to listen to that.
Yep. We have it audio on there, and then if you go on YouTube and type the Nemesis Project, we're on there too. We're also on iTunes and Spotify. If you search Nerd Review Network, we're there. And still working on nerdreview.com. It's slowly being built because I just have work, and the nap really killed me this week, where I was just napping too much because work has been working me too much.
What are you, a senior citizen?
I'm getting old, man.
All day?
I'm getting old, man. I turned 31 less than a month. It's almost my birthday. But yeah. Andy, you working on any projects lately?
I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm turning one of my scripts into an article that I'm just going to give you for Nerd Review, but also some other stuff. Any movie related stuff? I can't remember. I'm doing some movie stuff.
Cool.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone could have a peek inside my like Google Docs thing, they would see so many uncompleted like scripts and projects and ideas. But that's neither here nor there. So I don't know. Keep an eye out.
Sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger and do it. You gotta
Yeah.
Nike it.
Hey, same thing, man. I'm working all the time, and I'm also watching. What was that? Like 7 movies?
9.
No, I mean just this week. I
Oh
watched.
yeah, true. Stop watching movies.
Yeah, go stop watching movies. Freaking waste of time.
Yeah, guys. My project is pretty much producing all these podcasts and the Nerd Review website, and there's other things. Oh, I can announce this now. Me and Zach are also going to be doing a monthly wrestling podcast called "Getting Some Color," meaning color commentary in wrestling. We're going to be reviewing old school pay-per-views, and we're also going to be doing some recaps of AEW, WWE, and I'm actually coming up with some funny segments. There's been stories about Vince McMahon doing stupid shit, like he didn't know that burritos existed, and he didn't know that Asian porn existed. To kind of do a quick story, there was a Asian female wrestler called Gail Kim. JR said, "Hey, Gail Kim is pretty good and she's very attractive." And Vince McMahon does not like Asians for some strange reason in wrestling.
He doesn't like people who are all kinds of things. He's out of his mind.
Yeah. So JR kind of introduced him to Asian porn, and, and he's like, "Wow, they're hot." And apparently that's a true story. And one of the segments I'm probably going to be doing is was this a Vince McMahon promo idea? Like, did Vince McMahon come up with this stupid promo that, like a Dean Ambrose or a Roman Reigns had to do on Raw or SmackDown? So when is this going to be airing? Me and Zach decided that it will end at the end of every month on a Tuesday, because we record on Tuesdays for Resident Evil. We're going to be going live with the podcast. So keep an eye on that. Getting Some Color, a wrestling podcast monthly. On that note, everybody, I think we'll bid adieu. Everybody have a good night. And I'm trying to do the Kenny Omega sign off, and I totally butchered it. But have a good day, guys. Later.
Thanks for listening. Go watch Star Trek.
Yep. Later.